Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who still hasn't given up on Daniel Jones. Kyle, how's it going?
Doing good. I think I've given up on Daniel Jones a little bit. I'll say that.
Oh, no. This $40 million man.
He is, rightfully paid after that one season, and, this is the second draft for him. Here we go. He's going to have the renaissance, though, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, someone brings up in the chat, Kyle, football two weeks away for us who watched the preseason, a little bit longer away for you.
Yeah, I'll see you guys in September. You enjoy that. Enjoy your Hall of Fame game. And yeah, I'll see you guys in a few weeks after.
Yeah, I mean, you have a vacation. You're completely checked out during the preseason.
Yeah, I'll be gone completely. I'm going to be off the grid. I'll just be checking in on how amazing Drake May looks, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure the reports are great. I'm sure all the when the reporters are saying he's doing great this offseason.
Training camp stuff is only positive. I don't listen to negative stuff. The negative stuff's just wrong. The positive stuff is right. That's the way I feel.
Kyle, we might have some negative stuff in this hour of talking about the AFC South, which is always a made fun of division. This is always, usually when you ask people what's the least exciting division, you usually get one of the South divisions, but AFC South tends to be the one people choose. Again, there is interesting stuff here, though. As always, well, I don't necessarily disagree that this might be one of the least interesting divisions. Hey, we're talking about 4 football teams here. Every one of these teams has something intriguing. Yeah.
I think there's at least something to talk about with each of these teams for sure. I don't expect to see a lot of these teams. We obviously are required to see one in the playoffs come January. I don't expect to see more than one of these teams in the playoffs come January. And but I think there is interesting things to talk about. Tennessee Titans were not a very fun team to watch last season, but they got the number 1 pick. They got the quarterback. So they have a rookie quarterback to talk about. We got interesting things in Jacksonville, make or break year for Trevor Lawrence. What's going on in Indianapolis? What do they do? And then you got Houston, who's trying to find this next leap into their thing too. So I think there's interesting storylines for all of these teams, even though this is not going to be the prettiest football of the season in this division.
Maybe not, but ultimately, Kyle, we go through every team here. Why don't we get into the list? So again, if you're new here, Kyle has his own rankings. Then I will go through each positional category for each of these teams. We'll kind of discuss the team as a whole. I'll give my prediction at the end of the discussion. So yeah, Kyle, without further ado, there is some questions as to who you have fourth in this division. I think there is something to talk about with each of these teams. We do have the team that was last in football last year. Are you once again predicting the Titans to finish 4th in this division, or are you going somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm sticking at 4 for now. So I do have this as the worst division in football for this next season. I think it is difficult to watch. But that being said, like we said, more things to talk about. I still have Titans last. Could it get better? Absolutely. Cam Ward could be awesome. We've seen it. We saw Washington last year take a huge leap with just drafting Jaden Daniels and adding some pieces around him. I think that was a huge part of it. They also changed the coach in that one. But there is a case that this Tennessee team could take a big leap forward this next season if Cam Ward's awesome right away. And he has that potential for sure. So I don't think it's out of the question. But it's almost one of those things you need to see to believe it. And right now, I just have a hard time believing it. And even beyond Cam Ward, there's a couple interesting playmakers here. There's a couple interesting. You could go through this roster and say that player's pretty interesting. I think there's like 5 or 6 kind of interesting players on this team overall. But it still just feels like a long-term project. I'm still not entirely convinced in the coaching situation. And I still think it's a long way to go before we could take Tennessee seriously as a playoff contender.
Yeah. Also, on a side note, I don't know what happened with the banner. It's a different color now. I didn't change anything. Sometimes the StreamYard just, updates and it does whatever. So it still says the old color is on there. So I don't know. I guess we're in a new era, Kyle, in a gray world.
It is a gray world. Not Superman, though. That was very bright.
I haven't seen Superman yet. Is it worth it?
I liked it.
Okay.
I don't need to get into I don't need to get into it all. I like the movie. I had a fun time. I like Superman.
Yeah, I mean those are very much not my thing. But I'll give it a shot. I trust you, Kyle.
All right, yeah, go for it. Let me know what you think.
Okay, yeah. The Tennessee Titans. Yes, as you brought up. I mean, again, it's not too disrespectful to say the team that finished worst in football last year has the highest odds of finishing fourth in the division this year. With the head coach Brian Callahan, I'm interested in seeing what he can do with maybe a little bit more talent this year. But I mean, I'm still going to keep giving him a tier 5 head coaching rankings for now, just because I don't know much about him, and the 1 year he had finished worst in football. I'll go tier 4 for the quarterback Cam Ward right now, but obviously that is the big wild card. If they have a Jaden Daniels in their pocket, this team is completely different.
Yeah, I mean it's the biggest wild card for every rookie quarterback taken, right? If it's awesome, it's going to change a lot really quickly, and they couldn't have gotten worse quarterback play last year. We talked a lot about Will Levis, and even last season when they won 2 games, I mean, it started with them handing the ball to the other team, I think twice in the first game of the season to lose that one. So this team just found a lot of ways to lose, and a lot of it did start at the quarterback position where they found those ways to lose. So at minimum, you think that's going to improve it at least 1 or 2 wins, right? Just having a quarterback who's not going to hand the ball away all the time. Could Cam Ward do that? Possibly. Yeah, so I think he's got a ton of talent. He's elusive. He extends plays. He makes some magic happen. I think he's a really good quarterback prospect. I'm excited to see him play on this team, and I'm just excited to watch him because he was a very, very fun college football player for many years. And, I think it's going to be interesting to see how it looks at this level.
Yeah. One thing that the Titans have also vastly improved upon is their offensive line. And we can argue if they've overpaid certain guys or whatever, the Dan Moore contract, all that. But Dan Moore should be a solid tackle for them. They do have J.C. Latham, a first-round pick from a year ago, who played okay last year. They also added Kevin Zeitler. You have Peter Skoronski, another former first-round pick, who, again, is all right. You have Lloyd Cushenberry at center, who got banged up last year, but has had some good years in previous seasons. So, again, is this an awesome offensive line? No. And I think my biggest concern is just you have so many new pieces. How does it all fit together? But on paper, this is like a tier 3 offensive line for me. You have 5 guys who should be able to play.
Yeah, I think they're all pretty good. I agree. So I'm pretty excited for this group. And I mean, honestly, this might be the best part of this team right now. We have some other spots. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm talking positive about the offensive line, but it's not great if this is the best part of your team.
Yeah, no. I mean, we said it's a tier 3, and then we've also said, we don't love building around the offensive line. That's kind of the staple of this podcast at this point. But that being said, at least it gives you something to build off of. And these are pretty young players outside of Zeitler. So, I think there is some good things there. And like you said, yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like there's a weakness at least. Is there a strength of this group? I don't know. Maybe Zeitler. Outside of that, I don't know. But it doesn't feel like there's a weak link of this group for sure.
Yeah. I agree, and I think that for the rest of the offense, they don't have nothing here. It's not spectacular, but they don't have nothing here. You have Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, good 1-2 combo for the running back room. Again, it's another tier 3 for me of that should get the job done. Might not. I don't know if there's a ton of Tony Pollard Titans jerseys out there, but it gets the job done. Offensive line, again, Calvin Ridley's good. You then have Tyler Lockett. We'll see what he still has left in the tank at 32 years old. You have Van Jefferson. I think you would like, they did draft some players as well, including Alec Enumayer. I'll never got his name down. But, tight end, another tough name. Let me try this one. Oak on Koo. That's not it. Oh, I got to learn.
Yeah. Okonkwo.
Okay, Okonkwo. Yeah. I can get that done. Yeah. Again, tier 4 receiving room. There's some pieces here, like Calvin Ridley. I still like Tyler Lockett in a specific role, but you would like more here.
Yeah, I mean the Ridley one was interesting because it felt like there was a big chase for him last offseason, and the production didn't really felt like it backed up the chase. And then he ended up having a pretty decent year. I don't think he's the high-end upside number 1 player we saw before his suspension a few years ago. I don't think that guy's there. but there is a version of him that I think is a good player in the NFL, and I think he's a number one receiver, even if it's a low end number one receiver. So you have Ridley. I think having a guy like Lockett at least brings in a veteran presence. I think that's something that they should cherish. Van Jefferson feels like he's been on about 7 different teams in the last 3 years. I don't know what to think of that one. But yeah, I mean, I think that I think if you looked at last season and like they made a lot of big moves in the offseason, obviously changing their coach, which was very controversial with Mike Vrabel. And it looked like they were all of a sudden going to tank because they let Derrick Henry go. Well, they bring in Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, and then a few big names on defense. You could argue that Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley were their biggest hits of last season. Both of those guys ended up being pretty good for a team that needed some offensive firepower.
Yeah. I agree. I think that like this team looks way worse without those guys. Like what we can talk about some of these decisions, how it worked, but I think that they're very happy to have those guys and this is kind of my argument about even if you don't love your quarterback, it's still good to try and build around them because like they try to build around Will Levis, it doesn't work out. Well, hey, now you got a couple guys that can help build around Cam Ward. It's like it's still the right strategy.
Yeah, a lot of options here. Another one I like, Xavier Estrepo. He caught everything in college. I'm pretty interested, and he played with Cam Ward too. So maybe they have some chemistry going into this level. I think they have him projected as a special teamer right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if he makes an impact too.
This is the part of the show where you just give a complete off-the-wall shout out to an undrafted free agent who, as you said, projected to be a special teamer right now. We'll see if you nail this one, Kyle.
Hey, look, he was Cam Ward's number one guy last year. If anyone's going to come into the summer with a chance to play with Cam Ward, it's going to be that guy.
Okay, well, we'll see. Kyle, for the defense showed flashes last year. I think the biggest question I have secondary-wise, or just in general, the L'Jarius Sneed thing. They went out, they paid him some money, they traded a third-round pick to get him, which ended up being a pretty valuable pick. Ultimately, he just did not play well and then got injured. Are you getting something out of him? You do have some other corners, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., Roger McCreary. So, like, getting him back to being L'Jarius Sneed, still just 28 years old. If he can be prime L'Jarius Sneed, that would mean a lot. Can you expect that to happen, though? I don't know. Xavier Woods, Mike Brown, Monty Hooker for these safeties. You have talent there. Even Darrell Baker Jr., another corner they can use. It's weird because I don't love a ton of these guys. I do think at the very least they shouldn't be awful as long as they have these players. But I think I'm still leaning like tier 4. But I'm kind of just out on L'Jarius Sneed. I think if he can step up, it could be better than that. So tier 4 is where I'm going to end on.
Yeah. It does feel like if Sneed could bounce back to what he was in Kansas City, this is tier 3, maybe tier 2. But at the same time, it's trending down with him not playing as well. Like you said, I like Amani Hooker. I like a couple of these names on the roster, but there just feels like too many weak links. And if you're going to pay a guy that much money and he's not going to produce 2 at the corner spot, it's just a really tough thing to overcome. So I agree with you on all that. They definitely need a Sneed bounce back season or else this is going to be a bad group.
Yeah. Kyle, you brought up the best part about his team, maybe the offensive line. I kind of think the best part of this team is the interior defensive line with T'Vondre Sweat, who was really good in his role last year. Obviously, Jeffrey Simmons is still there. You have Sebastian Joseph Day. You have Draymond Jones, who kind of both plays edge and interior. Could use some more help on the edge. I like Arden Key a lot as a rotational guy. I think he's a good number 2 guy who they asked to be a number 1, and that I don't know if you love that. You have Lorenzo Carter and Jalen Harrell there. Don't love this pass rush stuff, even with what Jeffrey Simmons brings on the interior. I guess with Simmons and Key, I'll give it tier 4 pass rush and then tier 2 run defense for me.
Yeah, the interior is very good. I agree. And I mean, honestly, Jeffrey Simmons is the best player on this team. So he's gonna lift anything, and he already has good teammates next to him on that interior defensive line. So there is something at least to build with there, but it's just gonna be hard. Like especially if their corners aren't good next season and they can't get to the quarterback because this pass rush group isn't that good, then it's Jeffrey Simmons versus the world. And I just you're not gonna win a lot of battles that way in football, even if Simmons is as awesome as he is.
Yeah. So ultimately, Kyle, there's things I like about this team. I'm excited to see what they do. My expectation is 4-12 going into this year. They could have surpassed that. if, the Cam Ward thing, that can change everything. But as of right now, I think they'll win some games. I don't think they'll be the worst team in football this next year, but I still think this is a work in progress.
Yeah. 4-13, you mean, right?
What did I say?
4-12.
Okay, yes. For a second, I was worried I said 14-3. Yes, that's what I meant.
I should have said that.
I have in my notes 4-13. I just said the wrong thing.
It's all good. Yeah, I think I agree with that. A slight step forward next season feels appropriate, and like I said, as long as Cam Ward isn't like doing Will Levis things, I think that they should win a couple more games just by default. This is not the worst team I've ever seen. That like coming off a team that was number one pick and won 2 games last season. This is not the worst roster in the world. I think that there are things here that you can get excited about, and Cam Ward could be a very exciting player. So I think all that put together has me excited for the Titans, but I still think it's a multi-year project before we can get really excited.
Yeah. How do you think Cam Ward's going to do, Azrael? Let's finish there. Because, he was so electric in college, but he definitely would have hit. You compared him to Kyler Murray, a guy who will make big plays, but also will, he will make the occasional Will Levis play. What do you think is going to happen right away?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that, I think a lot of scouting lately for quarterbacks now has really valued the escapability and extended play off script stuff that Cam Ward was better than anybody at in college last season. I mean, he was fantastic at it. So he has that sort of skill set that he could apply to the game. But the problem is that what you do in college, I just feel like in general, when we see those guys in college succeed, it doesn't necessarily translate to the NFL as easily as people think, because guys are faster, guys are smarter, all that kind of thing. So how is that all going to look? Because whenever he wanted to, he could he didn't even tuck the ball because he had that kind of confidence. He would just run with it in his hand like this. He didn't even tuck the ball, but he would just take off and run. And then he was such a good athlete, he'd outrun everybody. Is he going to do that in the NFL? I don't know. I don't think he's that level of speed. So how is that all going to translate? I wouldn't be surprised if it takes a year or two for him to kind of speed up to the NFL game and catch up to it to be able to do the things that he did amazingly in college. But I also could see it working because he is a great athlete. He has a great throwing ability, and he could play off script. That's just something that just can't be taught.
Yeah. Let's guess the percentages, Kyle. How many people do you think went out on a limb and predicted the Tennessee Titans to win the AFC South?
3%.
Yep, you nailed it. 3% on the money. That is 4th in the poll.
All right. I didn't cheat, I promise.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe. You've gotten this a couple times. Maybe you've been looking.
I don't prepare enough for this podcast to do that.
Yeah, that's very true. By the way, that you're always entering at 6:01 on the thing. I doubt that you're spending some of that precious time looking at the poll.
To be fair, you sent me the invite today at 6 p.m.
That's
not
true.
on my fault.
Listen, yeah. I'm not saying that I'm any better. I'm just saying that's how we are.
Yeah, exactly. Fair enough.
Yeah. Kyle, 3 teams remaining: Jaguars, Colts, and Texans. Let's get into it. Who do you have finishing 3rd in the AFC South?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest debate of this podcast, right? Mm-hmm. I think 2 and 3 is definitely where you probably are looking at the most back and forth. And I'm still kind of going back and forth in my head a little bit. And I'm going to get a little ballsy, I guess, and pick the Indianapolis Colts for number 3. I don't know if this is conventional. I don't know what people are picking on this side. There is a world where the Indianapolis Colts, I think, can actually be pretty good next season. I think they got offensive playmakers. They added to their offensive playmakers with Tyler Warren. This is a good offensive line. This has good pieces on defense. I think there's a case for it, but it just felt like everything went wrong last season because we don't have a solidified solution at quarterback. So what do? They go get Daniel Jones. He's the backup quarterback now. They want that security blanket so it doesn't derail the entire season. But I don't know if I trust either of these guys. Do I trust Daniel Jones as much as Anthony Richardson or not? Can we see that Anthony Richardson ability finally be harnessed? All of it kind of goes into a question marks that I don't know, and that's why I have the Colts 3. I just think it's I think there's a case for it, but I also think it's a long shot still.
Yeah, I mean, like it's fair. Listen, we talk about the two most important people in the organization is always the head coach and the quarterback. And I like Shane Steichen. He's a tier 3 head coach for me. I think that he's done some nice things. I ultimately think that his real talent has been getting teams that probably shouldn't be close to the playoffs and getting them close to the playoffs, but still not getting in, which I don't know how much value there is in that, but that's what we've seen him be able to do so far. But yeah, it's a tier 5 quarterback room right now. I mean, you have a cast off in Daniel Jones, and you have Anthony Richardson, who just through 2 seasons has straight up played poorly and was a big part of why the Colts did not make the playoffs last season. And also, he can't stay healthy on top of it. So I think Daniel Jones has potential to be more than tier 5 if he plays. And I guess Richardson does too. But like, if they're going to get bad quarterback play again, if it's another Richardson situation, even if it's just another Gardner Minshew situation, like, no matter how good everything else is, this team's ceiling is being a bubble playoff team once again.
Yeah. And I do think Daniel Jones could be tier 4 quarterback play next season. And that's probably where you talk yourself into the Colts being in that fringe playoff spot in a wild card competition again, because they got tier 6 quarterback play when Anthony Richardson went out, and Anthony Richardson wasn't even good at the same time. So throwing all that together, they need to have some sort of situation here. And maybe it is Daniel Jones. Maybe he's just a security blanket. But, man, the Anthony Richardson thing is fascinating. I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback like this. I mean, like, we have seen guys like, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, Jamarcus Russell with all the talent in the world, who clearly didn't have football on his mind all the time, right? I think Anthony Richardson cares, like, despite the taking himself out because of the injury, tired thing. Like, I think he cares, and I think you see him play, and I think when he makes some throws, it's like, wow, he may be the only person on the planet that could make that throw. But there's also a lot of things that he makes look very difficult, and he's played 15 games through 2 years, and it's just hard to see. I've never seen someone make the difficult things look so easy and make the easy things look so difficult in my life. And I just don't know how you fix that. How is that a fixable thing for a head coach?
Yeah. I mean, again, Josh Allen is the guy who he's been compared to. Josh Allen had a lot of technique issues that they were able to fix. And I think that's maybe, like, again, is that the case of Richardson? I don't know. But yeah, like I said, only 15 games. He is still 23. But like, ultimately, like, you can't spend forever on someone like him. So if he doesn't play well this year, it's over for him. He's total make or break this year.
Definitely make or break, and he's got to find a way to stay healthy. I mean, like, even if he gets hurt, like, I think it's a make or break thing. He's got to show some flashes.
That's part of the issue is he keeps getting hurt.
Yeah. So he's got to show some flashes of development, consistency, because throwing 80-yard touchdowns off your back foot is awesome, but you're going to do that once, maybe a year. You have to do the simple things. You have to convert third downs. You have to put yourself in your team in positions to win outside of making just these physically jaw-dropping plays.
Good news for the Colts. A lot of good weapons here. First, you have Jonathan Taylor, who is a running back who I really like. A PFF hates him. They always have him with really low grades. I think he's good. I watch him play. I think he's pretty good. They also added Khalil Herbert.
That's the issue.
Well, yeah, there is that. Especially in that big moment, trying to make the playoffs 2 years ago. But Khalil Herbert should be a good change of pace back as well as the number 2 guy. And for the weapons, I mean, like, listen, maybe you don't have a superstar here, but you have Michael Pittman Jr., who's been a pretty effective number 1, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, and Adonai Mitchell, who I'd like to see a little bit more out of this year, but like still is a player who can play. Like, I don't know. I think this is probably, I'll go tier 3 receiving room and tier 2 running back room. Like, this is solid stuff, if not just outright good stuff.
Yeah, I think it is solid stuff. I don't know what happened to Michael Pittman last season, but I'd like to see him come back because that guy is freaking good when he's at his best. I really liked him a couple years ago. I think, the quarterback thing could play a big part in it, but I thought he also struggled on his own right sometimes. I don't think you could just all say, well, my quarterback stunk on all of those plays, because we've seen better receivers come up with lesser support around him. I think he's a good receiver. I think he's got talent. I want to see a bounce back season. You also add Tyler Warren to this group, who I just thought was the perfect first round pick for them. He's a unique tight end who they did a lot of Brock Bowers like stuff with him at Penn State, even though he's not the Brock Bowers athlete. I think he's a pretty good athlete. I think he's got good hands. I think he can run routes. I think he can do all these different things. I'm excited to see him in year 1, too. And then you mentioned Taylor, who's been the bell cow for a number of years. So, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of there are 4 to 5 interesting pieces, at least on this offensive skill position group, to where you could talk yourself into the Colts.
Yeah. And of course, the offensive line, which has been at times the heart and soul of this team. I'm not sure if I go quite that far with the 5 that they should be throwing out there this year, but still, Bernard Raymond, Braden Smith, that's a very good tackle combination. You have Quentin Nelson, who's still Quentin Nelson. Matt Goncalves as one of the guards who's slated to play. Also, Tanner Bortonoli is maybe how you say his name, who, again, has looked fine in a very small sample size. He should be their center, only played around 350 snaps. Looked all right there. So a couple question marks there with him and Goncalves as the kind of the 2 other slots. But ultimately, I still think there's a lot of good stuff here. I'm still going to go tier 2 offensive line for the Colts. It's a good offense outside of quarterback.
It is. There's a lot of talent. This offensive line's good still. They did lose 2 starters, so that is obviously a big, question mark. But like you said, those guys in smaller samples have played well. And this team always just seems to churn out offensive linemen. So I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, I mean, it starts with Raymond and Nelson on that left side. That's a legit 1-2 punch. And then the other guys just have to do their job. So, yeah, I mean, it's the offense. You would look at everything we just said about this offense. You would look at this offense and say that's a playoff caliber offense. But then the guy at the quarterback is going to change that. That changes everything immediately. That's why it's the most important position in football, and they haven't been able to capitalize on this.
But it's also a little bit like, but other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play, right? Like the quarterback is what matters.
Yes, yeah. You can't have you can't have a band without a lead singer, right? And that's kind of where the Colts feel like they're at right now with this offense.
Yeah. As for the defense, which again has been effective these past few seasons, a lot of just players who I'm interested in seeing what happens. Like for the cornerback position, you have Kenny Moore, you have Jalen Jones and Samuel Wommack III. You also have Tre'Davious Ward in there, who I'm interested in seeing if he can have a bounce back year, because he's had some, not come off his best year in San Francisco, but he's had some good years in San Francisco. If he can be, kind of prime Tre'Davious Ward, this could be a really good secondary. Cameron Bynum, Nick Cross for a safety duo. Again, they have depth here. I think they could have some stars as well. Just a couple question marks, just with the Ward's health and how is he going to bounce back. And again, not coming off his best year, but it should still be pretty good even if he's not great. So I think I'm going to go tier 2, and you could probably talk me into tier 1 coverage here.
There's a case for it. I think that there was a issue of this team, despite on paper being talented. I think that they were soft at times last year, and I think they were called out for it. I think Kenny Moore even had some quotes about, guys needing to be there and ready to play. And I want to see that bounce back. Like, there's talented players on this defense. This secondary should be really good. I think it's super talented. As you mentioned, it could be a tier 1 group. And then, yeah, adding a guy like Ward, though, is a huge thing because it wasn't a great year for him last season. Obviously, there was a whole lot of tragedy that played a part in that. So I'm
all right.
Thinking he's going to be a lot.
I keep misremembering. He wasn't injured. It was the tragedy thing. Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I just think that it's going to be a thing that I'm expecting a bounce back season for him. I still think he's a very good player. I couldn't imagine having to play in those circumstances. So yeah, I think that is a huge wild card though. If he is good, I think this could be a very good group for sure.
Also, Kieran saying, Kyle not aware of instrumental bands, excuse me. Oh yeah, all those great instrumental bands that are selling out arenas. Those ones are fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what everyone immediately goes to in those situations.
Yeah, all those. You're constantly listening to instrumental bands.
I sure am. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Kyle, defensive line. So first you have Leulatu and Kwity Paye, who are like 2 great analytics darlings that you want to see kind of finally show it on the stat sheet a little bit more. We'll see if they can do that at the edge position. You also have Tyquan Lewis. So again, analytics like these guys. We'll see little bit more. But DeForest Buckner, who we all know what he is, Grover Stewart, another really good interior guy. Even Neville Gallimore can be a good depth piece in the interior. As for the linebacker, you have Zaire Franklin, who is, sort of a guy who does a great job at racking up tackles for the Indianapolis Colts. I think he's a fine player. And then, we'll see who ends up being the other off-ball linebacker. But again, I like this. I think there's a lot of good players here. I'll go tier twos for both. I think that there's good stuff here for both run defense and pass rush.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, DeForest Buckner continues to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Latu and Pay should be very good. And then JT Tuimoloau is another interesting player, I think, too. Former high school stud. I think he could be very good. So, yeah, I like this group overall. Good front seven. Even if it's a little unspectacular, I think it's a good front seven. Good
Also,
front seven.
I have to point out, there's now a war going on in the comment section between you and Kieran about the metaphor.
It's okay. He can win that battle. I don't know if instrumental bands do exist, but I guess we should just acknowledge those and say that it was a bad comparison. No. Immediately when I say bands, everyone just thinks of instrumental bands. I know.
You know what, Kyle? You're not forgiven.
Yeah, it's okay. This isn't my best podcast work. I'll admit.
Kyle, this team feels like more of the same for me. I'm going like 8-9 for this Colts team. Like, it feels like they're once again going to be a bubble playoff team. Like, I think we're going to be when I do my late in the season, where every team is at playoff wise thing. I think I'm going to be talking about them. They're going to be prime contender of the In the Hunt graphic. In fact, I'm going to bet right now they are 100% going to be in the Hunt graphic. But I just don't know if this team's going to do more. Like, that just feels like what this team is at right now.
I think that's the case. I mean, like, until you get that quarterback thing figured out, like, yeah, I don't know. I think 8-9 probably feels right. They're probably going to win games that they should win or shouldn't win. And, they're going to lose games that they should win basically because of that situation. I continue to say, I don't think this is that bad of a football team. They were basically middle of the pack in DVOA last season. There is a case that this team could be a lot better with just one positional change or one positional upgrade. And you know what? I still think Anthony Richardson is young enough that he makes that leap and can make this team more competitive. Because as you said, like, there are good receivers on this team. This is a great offensive line historically, year after year. This has good defensive players. Across the board, we said tier 3, tier 2, tier 3, tier 2, all that kind of stuff. This team, if this team had anything else at quarterback, they would probably be a 10-win team and consistent playoff performer, but they just don't have it.
Yeah. We have someone in the chat saying, do you think Daniel Jones is going to have a career year on a new team? Listen, long list of guys who have had a career year right after leaving the Giants, right? Like, that's not the craziest thing in the world to say could happen. I guess the thing, though, is, like, even if they get decent quarterback play, I think, again, that puts them in playoff contention, but I still don't know, like, what that does unless we get a full Sam Darnold-like resurgence with Daniel Jones.
Yeah. That would have to be the case for them making a run, or at least getting to the double-digit wins. So it still feels like a lot. It's not something I'm willing to bet on right now. So we'll give it one more year for the Colts, and maybe Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones will surprise us.
Okay, Kyle. Well, we have finished half of the AFC South, which means we only have half of the AFC South left. I know it's very disappointing. Kyle, Jaguars in Texas. Oh wait, I have to do the real quick. Just the percentage of people who have the Colts. Do you want to guess the percentage?
Like 9%.
You're high. Only 5%. Only 5% have the Colts. Yes, that is third. So the fan base is also low on the Colts.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it. I mean, I see the case for it. I mean, if you're not sold on the quarterback, it's never going to happen.
Yeah. Well, of course you see the case. I mean, you agreed with it. You also put them third.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So that brings us to number 2, though, in the AFC South. I did feel like this was pretty straightforward. It does feel like it's the Jacksonville Jaguars here. I think 2 and 3 is more of a debate than 1, 2, and 3, or anything beyond that. I think 4 and 1 were pretty locked in for this division. The Jaguars are a different thing where we know who their quarterback is, but we're still not entirely sure if he's good. Another guy who's shown some flashes of real potential, Trevor Lawrence, former top overall pick. And then also, like, even the Trevor Lawrence defenders, I think, had to take a step back last season and say, we're just not getting enough from this guy for what we want to see. I think he had some real problems last season. I think he played some of his worst football since his rookie year last year. I think there is things that definitely need to develop in this game. And I think if it does, this is another team that could be kind of good because it is interesting. They make the big move in getting Travis Hunter into this team. Travis Hunter slots in as the number 2 receiver because their rookie last season, Brian Thomas Jr., was really good. He also slots in as a cornerback next to Tyson Campbell, who is shown to be a very, very good corner in the NFL as well. That could be a dynamic duo there as well. There is a lot of things to like about this across the board. Good defensive players, a lot of good offensive players, not a great offensive line, but there is something there. And yeah, it just comes down to, can we get a good version of Lawrence? And what is this Jaguars team going to be?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is, again, the 2 most important people in the organization. The big question you have to have with both of them is they're just complete unknowns right now. Liam Cohen is unknown because it's his first time being a head coach, and he was an awesome offensive coordinator last year with Tampa Bay. But again, how would that translate to the other side of being a head coach? A lot of guys have been great coordinators, haven't been great head coaches. We'll see if that happens with him. Also, Trevor Lawrence, who has had good stretches in the NFL. Like, he had like a 7-8 week stretch where he looked like he had put it all together and was the kind of the guy that we thought he was going to be. He's also had stretches where he just hasn't looked like that. And so we just have to kind of wait and see with both of these guys. And that's kind of why the Jaguars are such a difficult team to talk about. I'm going to end up going tier 4 for both of those right now just because of the unknown factor. But that's why this is a team that could end up, if everything goes well, massively exceed expectations.
Yeah. If you looked at the resume for Liam Cohen the last couple of years, you completely understand why the Jaguars were pretty hell-bent on getting him in the building. He has done a very good job with rebuilding some quarterbacks, fixing some things, improving these quarterbacks, and helping them take the next step. They bring him in here, and his number 1 job is fixing Trevor Lawrence. Because like we said, there's been some struggles lately. It hasn't really come together like they were hoping. But there's enough flashes to still get excited. He did get a contract for a reason. And whether or not he lives up to that is going to come down to this season, and maybe next season he'll get another chance. So Liam Cohen has to fix that. That's his number 1 job. And the good news is that is something he is capable of doing because he's proven at multiple stops now that he can do it. It's still not an easy thing. Not every quarterback can be fixed, but can he do it with Trevor Lawrence? I think there is potential for it. That is what you're going to be looking for Liam Cohen. You're not going to be worried about much else beyond that, even though I do think that you're excited about other parts of this team if they can come together as well.
Yeah, I think that, with Liam Cohen, one thing he did a very good job of last year was utilizing all the offensive pieces that Tampa Bay had, especially early on in the year when they had Evans and Godwin, was able to make adjustments when they didn't have those guys. Here, like you said, should have a lot of weapons. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. was awesome as a rookie. Travis Hunter will play receiver. It looks like the plan is to have him play both receiver and corner. Which we'll see what happens. I mean, I have no idea how that's going to go exactly, but as of right now, it seems like they're viewing him as a receiver first, and then with some corner stuff on the side. That should help. He should be really good. He was really dynamic in college. And then also Dimey Brown, who I think was kind of an underrated pickup. I think he's pretty good. For tight ends. You have a few guys who I'm not sure who the number 1 is. Hunter Long, Johnny Munt, Brenton Strange. They'll all get some snaps, I'm assuming. But I mean, this is, again, I'm going to stick with tier 3 receiving room for now because of, Hunter is a complete unknown. We don't even know if we'll end up playing receiver by the end of the year. But there's also real potential for this to be better than tier 3.
Absolutely. There is potential for it. And if Travis Hunter's a star, which he has the potential to be, this will be better than tier 3 because him and Brian Thomas Jr. will go a long way to fixing any weaknesses on this team as far as the offensive skill position goes. So I definitely think there's potential for that. Travis Hunter has so much talent. I think he's just as capable as a receiver as a corner. Can he handle the stamina? He's proven it time and time again he can. I see no reason why he can't, at least in some capacity, do it in the NFL level. And Brian Thomas Jr. was awesome last season, so I can't hate it all. De'Ami Brown, like you said, was very good. They have some depth options. I kind of like Parker Washington too. There's pieces there, even though it's all imperfect, but there is a decent core you at least can talk yourself into. And like I said, if those 2 guys at the top are elite, then it may not matter what the depth is.
Yeah. Kyle, this is a let's talk about the offensive line now. So there is some some not ideal spots with this offensive line. I don't think it's the worst Jaguars offensive line we've seen in recent years, but Anton Harrison, who was a first round pick who I never really was crazy about, but he's been okay in the NFL. Walker Little, again, like he's solid. It's not the worst tackle tandem in the world. The center thing is weird. They went out and signed Robert Hainsey, who was a backup center for Tampa Bay that they felt like they needed to draft a center in the first round to replace. And now Jacksonville went out and gave him a little bit of money to be a starting center. Not exactly sure what's going on there. He's not the worst in the world, but he feels like a backup center. You also have Ertz of Cleveland and Patrick McCarry as the other two guards, which again, it's fine. So like, it's a group of guys who I think are fine, and then one spot that isn't great. I think tier 4 feels fair for that, right? Like no real star, and then you do have a weak spot, but also like that you can certainly work with that.
Yeah, it's not the worst. It's not the worst situation, right? And Anton Harrison took a big leap forward next season. Could he take another leap forward in year 3 and then all of a sudden become a very good offensive tackle? That would at least give you something to build around too. So there is a case for that, but at the same time, it just feels like it's a no weak links group and not like you're not excited about any particular player.
Yeah. Who else we're maybe not excited about, but maybe could be, is Travis Etienne, who, I mean, there's no doubt about, like, he was bad last year, right? It wasn't a good situation for him. It didn't look good. He had 3.7 yards per carry when he played, and he also had 3.8 the year before. But the first year he played, which remember wasn't his rookie year, he had 5.1 yards per carry. He has shown flashes, and running backs, one injury can make or break you, but ultimately, you're in a situation now with Liam Cohen, who does scheme up some pretty good stuff. You saw how how Bucky Irving looked last year. I think a lot of that was Bucky Irving, but also Cohen certainly helped with that. You also have Tank Bigsby as a good change of pace back. I don't know what to make of this. I'm going to go tier 4 just because I still feel like there is potential for Travis Etienne, but also like that there is potential for this to just not work.
Yeah. This 2021 draft, looking back at it, has become so interesting for Jacksonville, right? Because it felt like they were really trying to change the franchise, getting those two Clemson guys, getting Lawrence and getting Etienne. And you see, it continues to be, you see like moments of why they took those two guys in the first round, but then you also just see some pure moments of frustration. So it's going to be very interesting to see if those guys can actually like turn into something, or is it just going to be a consistently inconsistent group? I like Tank Bigsby, though. I think he could. I wouldn't be surprised if Etienne stumbles out of the gate again if Bigsby is starting full time later in the season.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess the question about Bigsby is just like we've seen it happen where these change of pace backs look so good when they're out there, but then when like now you're out there for every snap, can you still make it work?
His name's Tank. You'll be fine.
You're right. What am I saying? Yes, you're correct. Let's move on to the defense, Kyle. A lot of questions were like, well, why are you putting Travis Hunter as a receiver who's going to play some corner snaps? I think part of it is just to have depth here. You have Tyson Campbell and Jaron Jones, but you also have Jordan Lewis. You have Montrac Brown, and then for the safeties, Eric Murray, and they could probably use another. You can maybe use another safety here with Antonio Johnson and Darnell Savage probably competing for that other starting job. But ultimately, like again, there's depth here. Is there the star? Tyson Campbell has been a star. He's a corner, so he's been up and down because that's how corners play. But I think he's a valuable piece. And there is the Travis Hunter X factor. So I'll go tier 2 coverage unit for this Jaguars team.
I like it. I like it a lot. Tyson Campbell, I definitely think he had a step back last season, but I still think there is the talent. I think he's pretty underrated still. And yeah, I really like this group across the board. I agree. And then, just the threat of having Hunter being able to deploy out there and do some things, I think is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out this year. So I am a fan of it, and I'm pretty excited to see what they do with him and how much he actually plays on the defensive side of the ball. Because like you said, they do have starting caliber options.
Yeah. The flip side is, so for the front 7, I pretty much like everything except for the interior. Like I don't know if like Dwayne Smoot is going to have to play more than 300 snaps. Are we getting another, like Devon Hamilton had over 600 snaps last year. That's not how you want to use a guy like Devon Hamilton as like a number 1 interior guy, but they might have to once again. in this situation. Everyone thought that they were going to draft Mason Graham last draft with the 5th overall pick because of how they need to help out there, and also just because it's good. They have some really good stuff on around it, though. Our guy, Trayvon Walker, who, hey, look at him. He's turned into a pretty solid player. Josh Hines Allen, who's always been a great player. Eric Armstead as well, who maybe you shift him back inside. I don't know. Also, Manuel Ogba is still hanging around. We'll see if you can get anything out of him. And then, Devin Lloyd, Foysaid Aluakon as the interior linebackers here for this team. So, again, I'm concerned about the interior. Because of that, I'm going to go tier 4 run defense. Really like the pass rush. I'll go. I don't know. I think I'm still going to go tier 3 pass rush though, just because I'm a Trayvon Walker hater, so I have to be cold on that, and also B, I don't think you're getting much from the inside. So because of that, that's the real reason. I think tier 3 pass rush, tier 4 run defense. But if we can get something out of the interior, this could be way better.
Yeah, there's a case for it. And they have options. Like you said, they can move Armstead back inside. They can move Walker inside, honestly, too. He has that physical capability. So they have some options there. They have Josh Hines Allen, obviously. And look, Armstead and Walker kind of combined create a pretty good number 2 option to Josh Allen, right? So they at least have that. And yeah, I can't hate it. Would I like a little more of a run stuffing guy mixed in? Yes. But at least they have some good pieces there, and I can't hate that.
So as for my prediction, Kyle, I am also going to give them 8 and 9, like I have the Colts. I do think I'll give the Colts number 2 in my rankings, though. I think I'll go Jaguars 3, even though I have the same record. I just feel like there's too much question marks with Jacksonville. I agree, though, that the ceiling of the Jaguars is easily the second highest in this division.
So if Trevor Lawrence... Think of what you think could be the best version of Trevor Lawrence and the best version of Anthony Richardson next season. Mm-hmm. Which team do you think would finish better, the Jaguars or the Colts?
Well, I think there is a big difference between the best version of Anthony Richardson and the best version of Trevor Lawrence. But if they both, I guess, if Trevor Lawrence gives you slightly better quarterback play, I still think I lean Colts. If Trevor Lawrence gives you significantly better quarterback play, then I would lean Jaguars, which could happen.
Yeah. I see all scenarios on the board. I do think these two teams are really close, and they're built a little differently, so it makes it fun. But yeah, I think that is I think those two guys, I think, will define both of these teams a lot.
Yeah. I agree. And again, what are we getting out of Travis Hunter this year, right? And what if Daniel Jones comes in and can be 3 or 4 quarterback play? That could be something. I don't know. I'm just picking what I think is the most likely outcome, and I have no idea how to do that with the Jaguars. They're one of those teams where you're just kind of guessing.
I think the Jaguars themselves are guessing all the time, too. It doesn't seem like they always have to plan.
Hey, but it's a new world. No Trent Baalke.
That is true. It is a new era in Jacksonville. We should all be excited.
Kyle, we thought we were entering the new... Oh, wait. First, let's do the poll. So the Jaguars finished second in the poll. What percentage do you think they got?
8%.
A little bit low again, or a little bit low this time. 12% said the Jaguars. So they actually had a nice showing in the community notes poll. 12% felt like they would win. But that means, by far and away, the biggest landslide we've had so far, the Houston Texans end up with 78%. And again, part of that is just the other 3 teams in your division. But ultimately, people are expecting the Texans to win this division once again, as are you, Kyle. We don't have to go into too much detail because we kind of get it, but why don't you explain why you gave them number 1?
Yeah, I still think they are rightfully the favorites of the AFC South. They are the one team that you expect to make the playoffs this season. I felt like I was down on the Texans compared to others because I had such high expectations. And it felt like it just never really reached that point. I think this defense is really, really good. They got one of the best young corner duos in the NFL, if not the best, just straight corner duo in the NFL. I think that leads it. I think they got a great edge rush duo. When you have a great corner duo and edge rush duo, you're doing a good thing. I think that is the trademark of the Texans right now, and that defense. They should be very good there. And yeah, I thought the offense was a little frustrating at times last season. I don't think this is all a CJ Stroud thing. I think CJ Stroud looked a lot like rookie CJ Stroud. I question if they can actually make that leap and if D'Amico Ryans can make that leap. Because there were some frustrating things, and I think they played it safe too many times to really compete for Super Bowls or really like take the next step. So I do have questions for the Texans, but I think they are going to be a 10 to 12 win team again.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree. I think the question for the Texans is not, will they be good next year? The question is, can they be great? And, you have CJ Stroud, who was like a tier 2 quarterback in year 1, and it's like, oh my goodness, where is this guy going to end up in his career? Year 2 comes around, and he's basically just a tier 2 quarterback again, which sometimes happens with players. Like Herbert's kind of had that, where he was awesome as a rookie and then just stayed like that level for his whole career so far. I still think Stroud's very good, and there still are ways he can improve his game. We have seen that before as well. I also like D'Amico Ryans, tier 3 head coach for me. It's like these are good aspects of the organization, and kind of why we feel high about the Texans is because of those two guys. But I also think there is room for improvement with both of them.
There's definitely room for improvement. Like you said, Stroud, I think people were down on him last year compared to his first year because the expectations were that much higher, not necessarily his performance. Because I do think, like I said, I think it was very similar. But you do want to see a leap eventually. And granted, not everything is necessarily, not everybody progresses or regresses the same. It's not all binary. Like, he could get better next season. It could be year 4 he takes another leap. But at the very least, you have a good quarterback situation for the next few years. And he is going to be a good quarterback, I think, for the next foreseeable future. So you have that in Houston. And then the D'Amico Ryans thing. Like, look, I criticized him at times last season, but like, as far as setting the culture of this team where this franchise, it felt like year after year was just changing coaches. He comes in and stabilizes this organization pretty quickly, turns them around almost immediately. I think all of that stuff is a pretty underrated aspect. I think those are things he's good at. I just want to see him not coach games like a defensive coordinator sometimes. I think he's got to be willing to let his young quarterback do things and put his trust in him.
Yeah, I agree. I think one interesting aspect of this team is the receiving core, who you have Tank Dell, who had an injury, and now he's had another surgery. And I'm not expecting really to get anything from Tank Dell this year, which sucks. Hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully we do get to see him play. Nico Collins is a top 10 receiver in football. He is, well, the joke is that there's 30 top 10 receivers in football, and that every team's number 1 receiver is underrated by their own, that's what their own fan base will say. But Nico Collins is underrated and is a top 10 receiver in football. Like, he's really good. They added Christian Kirk, which is an interesting kind of underrated move. I'm interested in seeing how that will go. Also drafting Jaden Higgins. They add Jalen Knoll. You still have John Mechie there. So and not to mention Dalton Schultz, who should be a good receiving option as well. Kyle, I still like this receiving core even without Tank Dell. I'm still going to go tier 2 for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. I would love to see it with Tank Dell because at times you just saw the flashes of talent with him. You go back to that Chiefs game before the injury, and he was just fantastic. So yeah, you want to see him out there. Hope he recovers well. But at the minimum, like you said, Nico Collins is great. Christian Kirk is good. Dalton Schultz is good. That's at least the start of something for sure from the receiving core. And then if you get anything from Jaden Higgins, this is all of a sudden a great receiving room. That's going to change a lot. So yeah, I think it's a really good start. And like you said, you have that top 10 option off the bat.
Yeah. As for the offensive line, so what was the big story last year, right? Was this offensive line stinks. What did they do? Well, let's get rid of Laramie Tunsil. Let's get rid of another Kenyon Green, which that's fine. But still, they got rid of multiple starting offensive linemen, one of which was a really good player. They did add some pieces though. So you have Cam Robinson, who again has always gotten paid like he's better than he is, but is a player who it should be okay. For the other tackle, it's Blake Fisher, who was a 2nd-round pick last year and just quite frankly just wasn't very good last year. He was a late 2nd-round pick, so you don't expect a ton, but I think he even was lower than what those expectations were. As for the interior, listen, Laken Tomlinson, Titus Howard, that's a fine guard combo. You're not mad at that. You're not mad at Cam Robinson. Obviously, the Blake Fisher thing you would like better, and even Jarrett Patterson, that's okay at center. And they even have Juice Scruggs, who should be a good backup center. So, I do feel like, again, 4 out of the 5 of these are fine, but it's just like that issue and that issues that tackle, unlike Jacksonville, that their issue was at center. So I think because of that, I'm just going to go tier 5 again. Like that's a little harsh, but just like, I don't know. I just don't think this is going to work. I just look at this and like, I just don't buy into this. I think it'll be maybe okay at times, but I just feel like a good pass rush is just going to destroy this.
Yeah. It's not great. I would argue it's among the worst offensive lines in the league, if not the worst offensive line in the league going into next season. I struggle to see the logic of how much their offensive line struggled last year, letting Laramie Tunzel and Shaq Mason, honestly, too, letting those two guys go and thinking it's going to work out. So this is the big black hole of this team. Can they fix this? They clearly decided that not paying Tunzel and hoping that they can make it work by just kind of replacing in the aggregate across the board was going to fix it. But I still think there's issues there across the board.
Michael 329 with a super chat. Loved your Bryce Young video. 2024 Young greater than Stroud? ? Well, Bryce Young did get benched in 2024, so I think I would still go Stroud ahead the whole year. I think I'm going to go Stroud ahead of him. Second half, I think it was close between them. I really do. I think take your pick. I think they were in the same tier.
You could say the best version of Young was better than best version of Stroud.
Yeah, I mean, Stroud was really good in the playoffs. Once that weird play happened in the wild card round, he was really good there, and he played really good against Kansas City as well. So I think it's I think probably I would lean Young, but I think it's close between them.
Yeah, but those first two games obviously did happen still. So
I don't know. Yeah, the whole year you have to go with Stroud, but sure, why not? Bryce Young, sure, let's go him over Stroud.
I don't know about that one, but I'll take your word for it. We don't need to do Panthers talk right now, unless you want to.
Oh, I always want to do Panthers talk. The running back room, again, I don't know if they'll have enough space to work, which is kind of the issue last year. Got Joe Mixon, though, who's still really good. Dameon Pierce, again, a player who has shown flashes. I'd like to see him get back to that rookie season form. And also they added Nick Chubb, which is a really interesting flyer. Nick Chubb, at his peak, was debatably the best running back in football. He was top 3 on pretty much everyone's list for a short period of time. So if he can get back to half of that, that could still change this. I like this running back room. I'm going to go tier 2.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we've seen all these guys be good. If you could be good behind this offensive line is a different question. But, like I said, we've seen all 3 of these guys be productive. And Joe Mixon ended up being a good pickup last year, which I think some people questioned for sure.
Yeah. So as a whole, an offense that, again, doesn't look that different than it was previously. And honestly, this team in general is pretty similar to what it was last year. Obviously, losing Tunsil was kind of the big loss. But, for the secondary, Derek Stingley Jr., who was fantastic last year. You also have Jalen Petir, Kamari Laster. You have Jimmy Ward. They added C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I don't know, Kyle, let's just do it. Tier 1 coverage. I like this a lot.
Mm-hmm. Really good. The C.J. Gardner-Johnson one was obviously the big trade. You mentioned it. Another big trade they had. And, it is going to be one of those things where outside of Philadelphia, he hasn't looked like quite the same player. So I'm wondering, can it work this year? We'll see. But at the very least, as long as they have Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter, I think this is probably going to be a tier 3, tier 2, tier 1 group. I don't see it getting any lower than that. You may be able to put you and I out there and they work out. Those two are so good, man. Stingley and Lassiter are a really good duo. You add Petir to that. You add all these other guys. It's tier 1 for sure.
Did it have to put us out there, though? I don't want to run.
Yeah, that's fair. We're not equipped to play defensive back right now.
No, I think so. Give me a year to train, maybe.
I don't know if that'll change much.
You don't think so? It would change something. It would make me at least look less embarrassing as I'm getting torched.
Slightly less embarrassing. That's fair.
Yeah. It would make me look better in the uniform, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, just get cut for that. That's all I need.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be the guy who's having the jersey rolled up and no sleeves, even though I'm the worst player on the team.
Oh yeah, just got to show off the abs.
Yeah, I think so. I think that'd be the move. Kyle, for the front 7, so the headline is the edge rush stuff with Danielle Hunter and then Will Anderson Jr. as the top 2. That's great on its own. And it's not just that. You have Derek Barnett as well. You have Danico Autry. You have depth along with these top two guys. The interior is not quite as good, but there are It's not like Jacksonville where I feel like they don't have much of anything here. There are players who I do like. Tim Settle, Sheldon Rankins, Mario Edwards Jr. Like there's some pieces here. Off-ball linebacker, you have Azeez Al-Shaair, who is everyone's favorite player. I think EJ Speed might end up being the other off-ball linebacker. Or maybe I guess Christian Harris is there too. So I don't know. The run defense is spectacular, but you still do have really good edge play. So I still kind of like this run defense. I think I'm going to go tier 2 run defense, and again, I'm going to go tier 1 pass rush. I mean, this is just good stuff here, Kyle.
It's a really good pass rush. I mean, you can like the other thing with the linebackers too is you got depth there as well, so you can't really hate it. But at the same time, it doesn't matter who's in the middle of the field when you have these edge rushers in those corners. So like they have good players as it is. Like even when Azeez Al-Shaair is not trying to like kill players, like he's really good. Or not, I wouldn't say really good. He's pretty good. But yeah, he is pretty good. So yeah, you have good players in this group. It's just also you have great players on the outside and on the edge.
Yeah, I think I did a top 10. I did top 10 lists for every positional category. And like I think I ended up putting Azeez Al-Shaair like at number 10, which sounds kind of crazy high, but like if you actually make the list, like there's only like 8 like guys who feel like they're top, like they should belong in the top 10. And like I guess Azeez Al-Shaair, like he does a lot of good things.
Yeah. Yeah. Just not, late tackles.
Yeah, every now and then he tries to kill an opposing quarterback. Like, okay, we all have our flaws.
So sometimes they commit murder. No big deal.
Kyle, I like this Texans team. I know that the offensive line is an issue, and I do worry if that's going to hurt this team once again in the postseason. But you have a weak division, an awesome defense that I think will be even better this year when you have kind of a year of cohesion with them. A receiving core that should be better as long as it stays healthy. And CJ Stroud, who I do really like. I'm going to go 12-5 for this Texans team. I think they're very good.
I see the case for it. I see the scenario. This team is very good. It is definitely going to still take a leap, I think, from CJ Stroud, from D'Amico Ryans as a coach, and this coaching staff as a whole. But yeah, I see a scenario where this team can win playoff games and maybe compete with the big 3 in the AFC, as we've talked about before.
Michael says, can we agree that the NFC South is better than the AFC South? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah, one team's doing the heavy lifting, but
Carolina.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, listen, again, I still do ultimately feel like, while I'm being very positive on this Texans team, I still do ultimately feel like when they go up again, like even like Baltimore, I just feel like that offensive line is going to get eaten alive. Like I still just don't, I think that it's hard to, I think they need, I think that they need someone, really, they need Blake Fisher to have a good year. Or just trade for someone or something. Like I keep saying Blake Fisher. Ariante Essery isn't scheduled to start. He is someone they drafted who could maybe come in and play. Someone's going to have to be okay at that tackle position for this team to actually be able to go on a deep playoff run and finally make a conference championship game.
Yes. Yeah. You just can't be that bad, especially with the teams you're going to play. You just imagine going into Buffalo with that offensive line, Baltimore with that offensive line, Kansas City,
Kansas City especially. Yeah.
Karlaftis, Chris Jones, Mike Dana, like just forget about it, man. Like it's just not going to work in that scenario. So, and it's hard enough to beat those 3 teams as it is. So, when you're really bad at something, it's just going to find a way to be taken advantage of.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like when they're playing a good team, the Texans are good enough elsewhere that they can withstand it having a weakness. But it's just like, and that's just why I feel like I think they'll beat most of the bad teams they're playing. I just don't know if I see them as a real threat. Is there a way that this team can go on a deep run? Is it just Stroud takes the next step and becomes a top 5 quarterback? Is it, like I said, one of the young offensive linemen step up and they have a decent offensive line? I guess one of those 2 things would be the way, or maybe both of those things happen.
I mean, if this is like a tier 3 level offensive line, like one of the young offensive linemen takes a step forward and all that kind of stuff, I see the scenario for it. I think that's probably the strongest case. I don't even think Stroud needs to be like a top 5 quarterback. He just needs to be like, he has to make the big plays. Like it has to be like a Jalen Hurts. Yeah, the Jalen Hurts thing from last season. Like, make the big plays when you need it, make the big throws. That's kind of what you need from him this year.
Kyle, that is the AFC South. Next week, we are going to do the AFC East, a division that you are paying very close attention to, Kyle. Where will you rank the Patriots? We will find that out next week. In the meantime, though, let them know where you can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Grondin. And make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you'd rather listen to the podcast instead of watch the podcast, we do have the audio-only feed available anywhere you get your podcast. You can check that out. But yeah, Kyle, that is our show. That is the AFC South. I should have made the intro this, but Kyle, how funny is it that Aaron Boone somehow also screws up the All-Star game?
Absolutely hilarious. He's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Jazz Chisholm's the worst. We're happy with that. The Yankees stink, so we feel good about that. Fun All-Star game though. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And ready for the second half.
Yeah. Felt a little bad for Jonathan Aranda as a Rays fan. That's not his fault. That was not a position he should have been thrown into. And he almost hit a home run. He was like a foot away.
Almost hit a home run. So the funny thing is, I guess there's something along the lines of the starters leave after the game when they get pulled,
but not all. Some guys were pulled and still played, so it wasn't a rule.
Yeah, but not all of them. But some people were saying that guys like Aaron Judge and such had left, that they had already gone home.
Well, yeah, that's weird. What do you like? Well, you don't want to hang out with all the other best players, and people are paying so much money to be that you could do that for free. Just hang out. I don't know. Can we not do I guess the Red Sox got in trouble a while back for having beers in the locker room, or whatever. But I don't know, All-Star game. Could you not have some bottles of wine there or something?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly who it was, but that was basically the reasoning why they were saying some of the guys didn't get picked. They did show Tariq Skubal was in street clothes. Okay, I think a lot of these guys, when they got subbed out early in the games, kind of either left completely or showered and changed and we're not prepared to do a swing off. So.
Sure. But still, you had Brian Buxton, the Twins guy, who was in the home run derby and made it to round 2. And you're still going with, again, a contact hitting player. I think this was 40 chess. I think Boone was trying to ruin Aranda's confidence as division rival. I think that's what he was doing.
Mess with the Rays. I mean, he did pick 2 Rays, so there is a case for it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It could be a big power play there for sure. So, I see the case for it.
You know what? You know why I don't believe that is because it's Aaron Boone making that call.
Yeah, he's not smart enough to do that.
The real answer is he probably said, "Hey, who wants to play?" And those were the 3 guys that raised their hands.
Yeah. Bobby Witt was there too. I mean, they had options. I mean, regardless, I still think even if they got into the final round, Pete Alonso was going to hit 3 homers.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle Schwarber going 3 for 3 was really what sunk him.
Yeah. I mean, that's just that is what it is.
Do you have any comments on James Harden making the top 100 Bleacher Report list?
Top 100 players ever?
Yeah, that doesn't seem that controversial, right?
I mean, he's a top 100 player ever, for sure. I mean, he's probably a top 40 player ever. I think he is in my top 40 players ever. Has he reached his full potential? He's probably a guy who, if he won a championship, would move into the top 25. Honestly, that Dirk.
I was going to say that's totally a sliding doors thing of if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, and the Rockets go on to win the title, how differently do we view James Harden? Yeah,
I mean, it plays a huge factor. If they don't miss 27 straight 3-pointers or whatever it is, that plays a part. I mean, he has fallen short so many opportunities that he had to win the championship. They have a good team again this year, even so. But I have no faith left in James Harden to do any of that. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like the Dirk thing, though. Dirk in 2011 probably solidified himself as the top 20 to 25 player ever by winning one championship. James Harden would probably do the same thing.
Yeah. Kyle, that is our show. Again, any final thoughts, or I think we covered it all. Got the AFC South, got the All-Star game, James Harden top 100. We really are in the deep part of the offseason, aren't we? These are our topic.
Yeah, we're ready to get to the season for sure. Everybody go home and listen to your favorite instrumental music, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I guess technically instrumental music plays before the show.
That is true. Yeah. Shout out the music.
Yes, shout out to music. Again, thank you to everybody. We'll be back next week, normal time, 6 p.m. Eastern. And until then, have a good one.
Peace.